I want to bring the conversation now closer to home. I mean, literally your home, your family life, no? Kasi in a recent interview, you talked about your father, the late Dean Antonio Coronel, who was a prominent criminal lawyer for decades, and you talked about the time he convened like a family meeting to talk about um, taking on a new client. His taking on a new client who was General Fabian Ver, who was then very close to then President Marcos, whom you, as a young activist and other members of your family, uh, presumably including Sheila Coronel, your sister, um, so you talked about learning important lessons then, kasi your father was lawyering for the other side, kumbaga, no? Um, Take us back to that time. I mean, walk us through that disagreement, because many families now are going through similar political disagreements. You know, the last presidential election divided many families who voted differently, who sided with different camps. And it was a very emotional election. It probably will not be the last time we'll have an emotional, political episode that will be divisive. So tell us how that was handled, between
Basically,
you
kasi,
and your family and your father.
well, we were students at the University of the Philippines at the time. My sister and I, and even several cousins who were living at home. And basically, all of us became activists. The whole clan on my mother's side were all my cousins. We were all active in the movement, no, against the dictatorship at the time. But what I saw was how other families were treating their children who chose to be politically active. I have friends who were really terrorized by their parents to stop their activism. Yung iba, kunikwento nila, paano sila kinukulong sa bahay, paano sila basically halos tinatali para hindi makalabas. One good friend was whisked off to the United States para just to take him out of the, a very dangerous situation for being politically active. But our parents allowed that. They knew we had people coming to the house, eating, staying on, meeting the whole night, do sa library ng tatay ko noon, because he had this law office at home, attached to our house. We would all be huddled there all through the night, just discussing and doing some of our stuff. And they allowed this. Pinabayaan nila kami na we were working in the Collegian every Friday. Overnight kami sa Liwayway Press sa Quiapo. And so pagdating dun sa personal choices, I think basically in-ingrain sa amin yung a very liberal framework. You can think freely, you do freely, you aim for what you want to be freely. And I didn't feel at the time that I was in a position to tell my father, given what he wanted to do for himself as a professional lawyer. My father was offered the job by Marcos, but he refused it because he did not see himself really being part of any government. Ang talagang profession niya is to be a lawyer.